All right, guys, we're doing part 4 a little bit differently because I'm having a problem uploading it to the editor. So I'm just going to read it to you guys the way that it's written. So bear with me. Ready? After the last big fight, I tried to end it there, be done and move on. But life had other plans. He had a loss in his life and came to me for support. After all we had been through in the last 3 years, I couldn't just say no. And so I was there to support him. I went to the funeral and comforted him during his grief. The following week, I had a loss. My great-grandmother passed away, and of course, I leaned on him for support too. After everything, I still knew if I needed him, he'd be there. And if we're being honest, there was never a time when I needed him that he wasn't. Through all his faults and the inexcusable actions, there was never a time where he left me hanging. And this is another reason why people, especially teens, become vulnerable to the abuse they endure in these types of relationships. Because the person who's hurting you is also usually the person you depend on the most. They can be your worst nightmare, but they can also be your savior. Trying to separate the two is sometimes impossible. When my great-grandmother passed, he stayed the night so he could attend the funeral with me in the morning. 5 weeks and 4 days later, I found out I was pregnant. Due on Valentine's Day, just 3 weeks after my 18th birthday. And just like that, we were back together. I told him if he ever touched me again, that would be it. I wouldn't have it around my child. He promised he'd never hurt me again, and I believed him. I believed him because I was hopeful. I believed, like many people do, that he could still be the person he once was. I believed him because in between all the bad days, there were good days, and before all the bad days came, there were always great days. I wanted our child to know that person. The funny, caring, charismatic, thoughtful person that he was. The person who would walk 45 minutes out of his way every morning just to walk me to school, to spend a little bit of time together. He'd be there waiting at the end of the day just to walk me home. The person who chose to leave his life and run away with me to keep me safe, to keep me fed, warm, when I had nowhere to go. The person he was before he became the person I needed protection from. The person his son would have been proud to call his father. Unfortunately, he didn't get to meet that. He kept his promise during my pregnancy. He never laid a finger on me, not once. He got me everything I craved and drew a beautiful mural on the wall over his baby's crib. I actually thought things were going to be okay, but I was wrong. It didn't take long after I had our son before things went bad again. I was going to school at the care center to get my GED, and he was doing the Youth Build program where you learn construction and get your GED at the same time. When our son was maybe 4 months old, he went camping overnight with the Youth Build program to do some team building exercises with other Youth Build programs from other places. About a week after he returned, I found an odd phone number in the cell phone we shared. It was a number saved under a man's name, but I'd never seen the name in the phone before. So I got curious and I called it. The number was a girl from another Youth Build program who attended the same overnight camp. She told me they had met through Youth Build and that they hooked up that weekend at the camp. When I confronted him about it, he lost his mind. He slammed me on the bed and started to choke me as he had done on many other occasions. But this time, he wasn't stopping. I could feel myself going in and out as I kicked my legs frantically and tried to pry his hand from around my neck. I remember hitting his chest, trying to signal that I really couldn't breathe and he needed to let go, but he didn't let up. He must have forgotten our son was at the foot of the bed. As I flailed my legs, the baby began to cry. It must have snapped him out of his rage because he stopped. He picked up the baby and put him on a blanket on the floor. I ran into the kitchen where I tried to catch my breath and compose myself. I had been cooking dinner before all this and realized I needed to turn the chicken. What else would you be thinking about after something like this? The way I was able to disassociate myself from the situations had become something of an art at this point. As I began turning the chicken one by one, he came up behind me, grabbed the back of my head, and shoved my face just inches from the burning oil. He said, "I feel like just putting your face in there." And I knew at this point, it was just a matter of time before I didn't get to walk away from one of these fights. I was not having this around my child, and I made him leave. I called the police. I told them I just wanted him gone. And I went to court the next day and got a restraining order. I wish this is where it ended, but it doesn't. They say things often get worse after you leave the abusive relationship, and oftentimes that is true. It was for me. As I began to try and find myself again, it was hard to know who I was as my own person. After all the fights, broken doors, busted lips, black eyes, being lost in his control, I had lost myself. My self-esteem, my self-worth, the way I thought had all been distorted into believing that I was nothing. I was nothing without him, and no one else would love me. He made sure to tell me all the time, "No one else will love you like I do. And now that you're a single mother, no one's going to want a woman with a child." And if you're going through anything like this, and you hear those words or something similar, just know that they're not true. They aren't true. And it took me a long time to realize that. A long time and a lot of mistakes to realize that that's not true. And you can't base your worth on the company you keep or the things other people say. It's just a manipulation tactic to keep you under their thumb. And just don't believe it. Stay tuned for part 5.